Welcome back to Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and it's what you've all been waiting for. It's another installment of Drew Savage's A Spider-Man comic book. Yes, in this case, today's contestant is The Amazing Spider-Man number 4. Yeah, I'm sorry that it's been a while since I've done a review. However, for whatever reason, I don't know what happened. I kind of lost track of time and time and space. This week I've been thinking like different days are the wrong days. Like when it was Wednesday, I thought it was Thursday. When it was Thursday, I thought it was Friday. It was crazy. Anyway, but the bottom line is I completely did not realize that this book had come out. So I made a beeline to the comic store because I called them up. I said, hey, you guys got anything for me? And they said, yeah, we got this, that, and the other thing, and Amazing Spider-Man. Now they know that I love my Amazing Spider-Man at my local comic shop. And they know that because every time I go in there, I vent my spleen for a solid 15 minutes. And the clerk there, named Kyle, is very understanding and listens to me rant. And I very much appreciate the therapy sessions. However, once I get the book back home, I gotta read it, and it never fails to disappoint me. It's amazing. So, again, The Amazing Spider-Man number 4. We've got Zeb Wells writing and John Romita Jr. drawing and inking. And let me tell you what, okay? We have another example of something that is one of my ultimate pet peeves. This is a cover that is not in the book. This does not happen in this book, and it drives me crazy. Furthermore, before I even get into it, I want to point something out, right? These are, Spider-Man webbing here. This should all be rendered in white, okay? It really should. When you just draw it, when you just ink it like this doesn't give you any visual pop when it's black like this, because we should be seeing like the contrast, and it would make such a better cover if we had the white webbing, and it would also be such a great cover if the cover was actually in the book. But this is like, we're at 1, 2, 3. We're batting 500. We've had 2 covers that are not in the book, right? The first cover, number 1, I'll give that a bit of a pass because that's more of a pinup. But the other 3, the second one is just Peter and Mary Jane, moping around and being emo. But now we got 2 books here out of 4 that the cover just does not happen in the book. So that pisses me off. Now, that being said, the story is, shall we say, boring again. It's a boring story. Although I will say this, it is an improvement over the previous 3 in the fact that there's a little bit of actual villainy that's actually really going on here. And it's not just, I'm going to beat up Spider-Man because I don't like Spider-Man kind of stuff. Tombstone apparently has a really clever strategy that he's using in this book. So I will give Wells credit for that. And you don't really find out about it. It's more of it's kind of a plot twist, which is really good. So I will admit that. But here's the thing. This book, essentially, the majority of this book actually has a really long sequence where Spider-Man's fighting a bunch of goons. And if you're going to do that, you need to have visual coherence. You need to have visual clarity. And we don't get that in the book. The problem with this run, and there are a lot of problems with this run, but one of the big problems that I find is that even when the story is actually pretty good for a comic book, oftentimes there's something else that's not up to par. And in this case, the writing is actually not bad per se, but the art, even though it's better John Romita Jr. art, the problem isn't so much his rendering in this book, it's the fact that he's drawing things that don't make sense visually. And I wonder if the editors actually even edit this book at all, because you would actually say, look, here you got Spider-Man doing this, but then he's doing this. So how do we make the connection so that this actually makes any sense? And there seems to be a total lack of editing. And this book does have an editor. Let's see here. Where's the editor on this book? So Nick Lowe is editing this. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Anyway, the book opens up with Mary Jane. So yes, we do actually have Mary Jane in this book. And we also have Black Cat. So Black Cat's in here for about 5 seconds. And we have Mary Jane, and she's giving a bedtime story or a bedtime goodnight thing with her daughter. Again, not explained. And, Black Cat shows up and she's like, well, where's Spider-Man? Do you know where Peter is? And Mary Jane's like, well, no, I don't talk to him. And again, it's more of a teasing thing for Spider-Man fans and not really, any kind of closure. So I get the feeling that we're just going to go with this for a very long time just to piss people off because they can, and it's like, look, I don't care so much about all the other run-of-the-mill Spider-Man stuff that's going on in this book because nothing in this book is, in my opinion, nothing in the book is justifying the kind of drudgery that they're putting the readers through, right? So, some people might like it. But you know what I've noticed about this book? I've noticed we still don't have a letters page. So they keep talking about in earlier issues, they're excited about hearing people's feedback. And I can only surmise that the reason that we don't have a letters page in this book at this point is because they don't have any positive letters. So one thing I have noticed doing these reviews is just how many Spider-Man fans there are out there who actually really give a damn about Spider-Man. And it's really frustrating because the writing and the art seem to be like Marvel saying, you know what, we don't really care to give you something that's worthy of the title Marvel. So that's my rant. So let's get into the art, right? So like I said, the webbing here is all rendered in black. It's not like converted to white, and that's stupid. Spider-Man's webbing, for the most part, I think in modern comics, should be rendered in white because that's what it is. He's not shooting out black spider web fluid stuff. So this stuff looks like a regular, it looks like netting, right? Spider-Man doesn't shoot nets, okay? Spider-Man shoots webs. You look at any spider web, it's not black, it's white. So why do we have fisherman's nets? I mean, is this Aquaman Spider-Man? Is this Spider Aquaman or something like that? Or if we're going to fit it in the right comic book universe, is this Spider Namor? Yeah, I don't really care, but it's not cutting it for me. So let's take a look at some of the art. The first thing I want to talk about is this page here where we have Mary Jane, and we have like a mini-me Mary Jane with her, and she's going through this kind of like bedtime ritual. And, it's fine. The writing's fine. But again, Romita has decided that everybody has melon heads, and I don't like melon heads. So he's got this child here with a super tiny neck, and she's like a Tinker Toy, right? That's what it is. Romita's drawing kids with Tinker Toy wheels with spokes coming out of the bottom for their necks. Yeah, no, it's not my jam. I don't like it. This child actually has identical hair to Mary Jane, which is, I guess, more trolling to try to get you to believe that this is actually her child, like her biological child, because her husband looks like he's a different ethnicity. And so this little girl here does not look anything like her father. So that's another thing that throws me off here. Furthermore, now we've got Felicia out of nowhere showing up for no reason whatsoever. She's looking for Peter. And all this is really telling us is that Peter's been missing and his, booty calls aren't seeing him. So, well, he's not gotten any kind of booty calls at all in this particular volume. So again, also, not only do we have the Tinker Toy heads, I don't know what John's doing with this. Okay, he keeps drawing these eyes too close together, and he has these super long noses and these super round heads. It's like Ryan Johnson. It's like Ryan Johnson is the model for all of John Romita Jr.'s Spider-Man art, and it's not. And the other thing is that it's not consistent. So while we have this panel here, right, where Mary Jane's got a really round face, then we go to this next page and Mary Jane has a less round face. So it's like, pick what you're going to do, man. So even when we go from this panel to this panel below, it's like her face kind of changes again, and it's like a vacillating face. It's very strange. And then Black Cat here in this profile looks like a dude. So, I don't know what's going on with John. The next page I want to talk about is this page here where Spider-Man's about ready to get shot. And again, I don't know why we have this semicircle of bright light and then this shadow. This is not how shadows work, guys. This is the second time in 2 comic books where they've done this, where this, I guess this is supposed to be a spotlight, but this is not how spotlights work. What in the hell is going on here, guys? I don't know if this is a coloring thing. I don't know if Romita's actually drawing this line here and then the colorist is just trying to stick with it. But this is not how this goes. This is not how shadows fall, okay? Again, we've got weirdly proportioned people. This dude's head is huge, and this dude's entire body is huge. This guy is like totally out of proportion. So furthermore, he's actually standing kind of further away from Peter, and you would think that if he's standing this far away that this gun would be angled more so that you would see the actual, bullet or the actual barrel of the gun, that looking more kind of down the barrel. But again, it's not, because Romita apparently doesn't really seem to be all that concerned about, spatial placement of things. Then we have this page. Now, remember what I was talking about, the fact that things need to be visually coherent? This is not visually coherent. So we have this panel here. We have the goons looking at a door. And now we have Spider-Man, and is he being... It looks like someone picked him up and then threw him at these guys, but we don't have any wind up. We don't have any visual lead up. We just have Spider-Man with speed lines, and he looks like he's puking into this guy's back. In the very next panel, we have more netting. We have fish netting. We don't have Spider-Man webbing. So because we are in an era where we have computer coloring, we should be able to actually turn all of these lines white, and that's the way it should be rendered. It's consistency, guys, okay? It's consistency, because even in the very next panels below it, we have kind of a whitish color, and, it's like, I don't know why we're not consistent from panel to panel, other than, people don't care at Marvel right now. Again, we flip the page, and again, we've got more white webbing. So again, here's white webbing here, white webbing here, white webbing here, white webbing here, black webbing. Why? Why is it black here and white here? Pick one and stick with it. Preferably, pick the right one, which is the white one. Well, that sounded terrible. You know what I mean. Pick the white webbing, because that's what Spider-Man's webbing looks like. Now, there are good things in the book. Like, I really like this panel here where Spider-Man is up in the dark area of a room and you're just seeing his red parts of his costume. This is cool work. So yeah, John, if you ever see this, and I'm sorry, but I've got to be honest, right? If you ever see this, I love this panel. This is actually good work here. This is cool. But there's one more panel I wanted to talk about, and it's less of an issue, but we've got a panel here with a firearm, and I don't know what these lines are around the firearm. I don't understand what they're there for. I've looked at this for a solid 5 minutes trying to figure it out, and I just don't get it. So are these supposed to be motion lines? I just don't know, but it's lazy. But that sums up the book. It's a lazy Spider-Man run, and it's not worth our time and money other than to make YouTube videos where we complain about it. So I don't know. I mean, they're getting my money, so maybe this is what they're looking for. But I just, it's irritating. And, we've had this book coming out since April, and we're just not moving along fast enough. And, I just, it is what it is at this point, right? So the book still sucks. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a great book. It's better than the previous four. But again, this is The Amazing Spider-Man. And because it's The Amazing Spider-Man, it should be an amazing book. And it is not an amazing book. It's a missed opportunity. And the one thing that I hate the most about entertainment, whether it's comics, whether it's TV shows, whether it's movies, is that oftentimes you really only get one shot to get something right. And when you waste time screwing around with stuff that doesn't matter, it wastes your opportunity to do something great. Spider-Man is a great character, and there have been so many great stories, and here's an opportunity to continue creating great stories, but it doesn't look like we're doing that here, right? And I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm sure I will be wrong in the future, but right now I don't think I am, and I just want to see better stuff, right? So don't put a cover on here where a character like this guy is not even in the freaking book, and she doesn't have anything to do with Peter Parker in this book. I don't understand why we're doing this. Anyway, The Amazing Spider-Man, number 4, Legacy 898. where we're 2 issues away from a gigantic, big, super overpriced issue that's full of garbage, most likely. So, oh well. Here we are. Maybe that's going to be a relaunch. Maybe it'll be a relaunch with a new creative team. I don't know. Hopefully, for my YouTube video to God's ears, right? So anyway, again, The Amazing Spider-Man #4. It's awful again. And thanks for watching Comics with Drew. I'm Drew, and I'll catch you next time.